ready for the 5th edition. It's the 2025 AM 950 calendar, featuring photos I've taken across Minnesota, plus important dates in both progressive and AM 950 history. All new and current sustaining members who make a recurring donation of $10 will receive an AM 950 2025 calendar as a thank you. If you make a monthly recurring contribution of $25 or more, you'll receive a thank you of both the AM 950 calendar and a signed copy of Tom Hartman's latest book. Make a one-time $30 donation, you'll get a calendar as a thank you, or make a one-time $100 donation, you'll receive both the AM 950 calendar and a signed Tom Hartman book as a thank you. It's really simple to become a member of AM 950. Go to our webpage, am950radio.com. Click on the membership button and sign up. The website has all the details on the different levels, the 2025 calendar, and Tom's book. Thank you to everyone who, over the last 5 years, has continued to help support AM 950, one of the last true progressive radio stations in the country. Thanks for keeping AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota, on the air.
Eat Local Minnesota is a great way to find locally owned Minnesota restaurants and food purveyors. You'll find high-quality food and unique eating experiences with dishes from around the world. Just visit eatlocalminnesota.com for your next meal. Crooner Supper Club invites you to Maggie's Lounge, an exciting new bar lounge. It's open Wednesdays through Sundays beginning at 4:30 for cocktails and light fare. And you don't need a ticket to enjoy the great atmosphere of Maggie's. So stop by Crooner Supper Club off Moore Lake and Highway 65 for dinner, drinks, and live music from both big-name local and national artists. Cafe Latte combines a cafe dining experience with gourmet quality food. Plus, you can still do online ordering and takeout along with gift cards. Just go to cafelatte.com and choose from their ever-changing selection of award-winning salads, sandwiches, and soups. Cafe Latte is located off Victoria and Grand and online at cafelatte.com.
Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in 4 directions. This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy, but with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Tonight, clear with a low of 3 below. Then Friday, sunshine with a high of 17, but wind chills could get as low as 12 below. For more than 40 years, the Great Wall Restaurant has been serving up Szechuan and Mandarin favorites. The Great Wall is located just north of 50th in France on the Minneapolis-Edina City line. Check them out at greatwallrestaurant.us.
Portions of Native Roots Radio may be pre-recorded.
It's a good day to be Indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake. Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade. Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in 4 directions. You are listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot. Hey, we discuss local, national, Native news and events that, as you know, Chujunk, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
Yes, you are right, Deca. This portion of the show is supported by JS Bean Factory off Randolph Avenue in St. Paul. Only the good stuff keeps us awake.
Well, Haley, can you guess where I'm at? You know, like I'm not busy enough, but I thought I'd take on something else. Wendy and I are here, and you can see Wendy in the screen here waving at people.
Yeah.
So, hey, where do you think we are?
I'm going to guess you're vending with Native Roots Trading Post at some type of art market, and I'm going to guess it's in Shakopee.
You're correct. And what's the address?
Well, let's see. You're at the Hokata Tea Winter Art Market in Shakopee, and that's 2300 Tawahi Circle in Shakopee, Minnesota.
Exactly. And we're excited here, and we're vending here, and it's been a great first day, and I know it's going to be really, really busy tomorrow and the next day. And so there's other things going on, but there's a couple things I want to do before this segment ends, Haley, and I want to talk about our wolves real quick and then go into Governor Evers.
Yeah, for sure. So Dr. Maureen Hackett, president and founder of Howling for Wolves, one of our great and longtime sponsors here on Native Roots Radio, recently reached out to me and she wanted to let everyone know that Howling for Wolves will be at the Patagonia store in St. Paul on Grand Avenue this coming Saturday, December 14th from 10:30 a.m. to 4 in the afternoon. Howling for Wolves will have wolf advocates there tabling and gathering names and addresses for postcard messages to the Minnesota governor and lieutenant governor to just send a message and ask them not to allow wolf hunting. They will also be giving away free swag in support for Howling for Wolves and will be mailing all the postcards that you come and sign. And they use Visions Printing for their postcards. And we've actually had the honor to fill out some postcards with Howling for Wolves at the Wolf Day at the Minnesota State Capitol. And their postcards that they use are actually like photographers, still shots of wolves in the wild, which is really cool. But always like to point out that our Minnesota Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan comes from the Wolf Clan, and Minnesota is the only state to not lose their natural wolf population. Yeah, so our wolves are like our relatives and clan members, and they're cleaners and protectors of our forests. And we know that when one member of the pack is killed, that the pack is likely to suffer in a lot of different ways.
Well, it's fun too. I'm here, amongst a lot of different nations here, and we talk about a lot of things. And one of the things that always brought up is how we, as natives, thousands and thousands of years ago, watch the wolves and how we run our clans, how important each wolf or each member is. And so we've learned from thousands of years ago, and it's always cool to remind everyone that our lieutenant governor is from the Wolf Clan.
Yeah, so join Howling for Wolves at the Patagonia store off Grand Avenue in St. Paul this Saturday from 10:30 to 4.
Hey, let's jump on now. We got a few more minutes here for our weekly report from Governor Tony Evers from the great state of Wisconsin. Let's take a listen.
They are Native Roots Radio. Governor Tony Evers here with my weekly update. I declare 2024 as the Year of the Worker here in Wisconsin, not only to honor our state's incredible dedicated workforce, but to put an emphasis on bolstering our workforce, reducing barriers to work, and making smart investments in key sectors. And now that 2024 is coming to a close, I want to take a moment to look back on all we have accomplished together this year. We've continued to see historically low unemployment that's well below the national average, as well as record high employment for over half of the year. We created the Governor's Task Force on Healthcare Workforce to find solutions to the unique needs facing Wisconsin's healthcare workforce. We also launched a brand new teacher apprenticeship pilot program and welcomed the first 8 teacher apprentices. And we celebrated record high enrollment in our state's registered apprenticeship program for the 3rd year in a row. We also saw record high enrollment in our youth apprenticeship program with an all-time high of youth apprentices enrolled. Wisconsin was also designated as a U.S. regional tech hub, making our state the national leader in biohealth industries and bringing a projected more than 140,000 direct and indirect jobs. And finally, in just the past year alone, we have celebrated global brands like Lilly Medicine, Nestle Purina, Kikkoman, and Microsoft deciding to invest millions and even billions to grow their businesses and create jobs right here in Wisconsin. All of this is a BDF, a big deal, folks. But just because the Year of the Worker is coming to a close doesn't mean that we are going to slow down in 2025. We are taking the positive momentum of all the incredible work we accomplished during the Year of the Worker, and we are bringing it with us into the new year to make smart, strategic investments to support employers and working families and build the 21st century workforce and economy Wisconsinites deserve. Thank you. Back to you, Robert, and Native Roots Radio.
Wow, we applaud Governor Tony Evers. What a lot of great work, and it's always great to be reminded of what's happening in our neighbor, and our good neighbor here in Wisconsin with the governor of Wisconsin, Tony Evers. Hey, Haley, I just want to bring up one more quick thing. Is again, Howling for Wolves is going to be in St. Paul on the Grand Avenue store, the Patagonia store from 10:30 to 4 p.m. on Saturday the 14th. really important stuff, and it sounds like people will be tabling, and it sounds really cool. Also, there's tomorrow at the Minnesota Women's Resource Center, they're hosting a winter market too, aren't they?
Yeah, MIWRC will be hosting their winter market tomorrow in the community room in Minneapolis from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And like Ruth Ann Buffalo said yesterday, they're going to have food vendors. And I know that she mentioned all of their artist vendors were full. So should be a wide variety of good stuff to get your holiday shopping done.
Yeah, definitely. And what else we got going here? We got like 3 more minutes here. I'm going to be here with Wendy. We're pinch hitting for our daughters, and we'll be manning the. You laugh. We'll be manning and peopling, I should say, the Native Roots trading post out here in Shakopee. So come out and say hi. We already have had a bunch of people come out and say hi, which is
that's awesome.
You said awesome.
Minnesota Senator Mary Kunish was out there.
She's there right now. She's talking to Wendy.
Nice.
Yeah, and we have a present for her, but we didn't know she'd be here, so you know how that goes.
Yeah, she'll have to come back tomorrow.
Yeah, she's heading to DC, I guess, Saturday, she was saying, so that's very cool.
Yeah.
Hey,
awesome.
I want to give a quick shout out to Dennis Dunlap, and do you want to pop out that information again that we can get a hold of Dennis and his wife about those checks that they can pick up for him?
Yeah, so thanks for bringing that up. It is a timely manner. I want to shout out Dennis and Donna Dunlap, a native blend out of Michigan. They are helping Lakota tribal members this season who live off the reservation and are not able to get their holiday tribal checks. So if you are off reservation and you don't think you can get that, Dennis and Donna can definitely help you out. You can get their contact information if you go to Native Blend, search that in Google, and you should find their contact information there. They'll help you apply for that holiday check for LCO tribal members.
And they're doing that with no charge to their relatives and their families, but also check out Native Blend.
Yeah, they have their own little native-owned business, and they sell their handmade goods like soaps and stuff. And it's really great to support native-owned businesses this holiday season.
Right on. Come out and check out Native Roots Trading Post here in Shakopee. We'll be right back after this short break, Haley.
Yeah, stay with us. This is Native Roots Radio.
If the statistics say that 1 in 3 Native women and 1 in 6 Native men have experienced sexual assault in their lifetime, it means our whole community is affected by sexual violence. 1 is too many. Don't stand by, stand up. Don't engage in acts of sexual violence, and shut down the dirty jokes, the gossip, the victim blaming and shaming. As a community, we can change the way we respond. Contact the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition to attend a workshop to learn more.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Programming on Native Roots Radio is supported in part by MNsure. Looking for health insurance, but not sure where to start? MNsure has you covered. You can find discounts, compare private health plans, and see if you qualify for free or low-cost insurance. Plus, get help from an expert so you save on the coverage you need. Enroll online by December 18th for coverage starting January 1st. Get started today at mnsure.org. That's mnsure.org.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
As we age, it's important to invest in our health and to help protect it. Like the flu, COVID-19 is always changing. That's why it's important to stay up to date on your vaccines. By getting the flu and COVID-19 vaccines, you can renew your body's defenses and lower the risk of getting sick. Get your health boost and protect yourself against the flu and COVID. Find vaccines near you at vaccines.gov. Again, that's vaccines.gov. Vaccines.gov.
Hi, this is Representative Sharice Davids from Kansas. I'm Ho Chunk, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by Native American Community Development Institute, or NACDI, in Minneapolis.
Hey, we're here with our friend Robert Lilligren, President and CEO of Native American Community Development Institute here in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis. And Robert, I left you with a kind of a cliffhanger statement. Can you help me remember? I think you were still a city council member during that heyday.
Yeah. So the question was about sort of these political shifts, right? And
yeah.
So I first got elected in 2001, and we faced a hostile federal administration, a hostile state administration. It was the Governor Plenty years, and these administrations that were hostile to cities, right? They wanted cities to fail. They saw cities as these bastions of Democratic voters. And so they continued to turn off the tap of any kind of state and federal support to cities. And they really broke the covenant of local, state, and federal government support. And it was hard. In all 12 years that I served on the Minneapolis City Council were budget cutting years. And often that meant multiple cuts throughout the year as waves of funding were cut, and it was harsh. And we had to tighten our belt, and we had to be very serious about what we could and couldn't do. And we had to be really collaborative with our communities and explaining what was going on and seeking their input and guidance. And one of the ironies is, finally, after 12 years of being on the city council, our fiscal responsibility began to pay off. And the very next year would have been a year where we actually had money to spend. And I never got to experience that. But I mean, I feel like government works best when there's an acknowledgement. Local government, state government, federal government all have their roles. And if any of them abdicate that, it really creates disruption. So I think those of us that live in big cities, I live here in Minneapolis, need to be prepared for something like that. How do we, in a collaborative, community-based way, tighten our belts the way we're going to need to?
Wow, excellent point. I remember roughly 2006, when just like when all the property was going crazy. I mean, I'd have to cut my grass, and my house was worth $50,000 more, and then we paid for it in 2008.
Right. So I lived in an area of Minneapolis that's called the Phillips area, and it was a blighted area that had rapid redevelopment. And then right around the time you're talking about, Robert, it wasn't uncommon, and I was a little landlord, for properties in our neighborhood to appreciate literally 500%, right? Yeah. And then when we hit the wall, they depreciated really rapidly, and that was painful on the community. And so, are there ways to smooth that out? Houses went foreclosed like crazy. I'm sure you remember the foreclosure crisis of the mid 2000s, and the impact on lower wealth people, right? Phillips neighborhood, Phillips community is very diverse. There's no majority demographic there. It tends to be lower wealth. And so people were sort of enjoying the increase of their major asset, their homes. And then all of a sudden they had nothing but debt, right? And so it took its toll.
Yeah, it really did. So I guess for me, bringing that up, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but we made it through, and there's some things that had to change, especially the way people were going after people with these loans. That was terrible, and people losing their houses and being upside down.
Right. There's all this predatory lending, right? And so I represented the big headquarters of Wells Fargo Home Mortgage. And Wells Fargo and several of their subsidiaries were some of the worst actors in predatory lending. And so they had to be held accountable, but they overlent with really toxic lending products and tools to people of color, to lower wealth people. And so it just destroyed families, financial, like families that were trying to build generational wealth. It just sucked all that out.
Yeah, I remember that. But we made it through. But it was very costly because of the predatory lending that happened to our friends. And like Nina says here, legal loan sharking.
Yeah.
It's like credit cards.
That's what it was. And as the representative of the Wells Fargo Home Mortgage campus here, I'd engage with them, and that made me feel a certain way, and trying to take care of the people that I represent. And so now that we're going to enter into who knows what for the next 4 years, for me, it's looking for the opportunities, right? I mean, we're so fortunate to live in Minnesota, a blue state, to live in Minneapolis, a progressive city. I live in Minneapolis, a progressive city. And so there's, in times of crisis, there's always these opportunities. And so how do we find those? Like I said, I think the Native folks, both urban and tribal or reservation based, we're gonna find those. We're gonna find ways to continue to prosper, to grow, but I suspect it isn't going to be easy.
I always like to say this, and you kind of just touched on it, is that crisis is a Chinese word for dangerous win and opportunity. So every crisis is a dangerous opportunity, like you just said.
Right. And so, at our level at NACDI and within the urban Indian community here, we're pretty active already, trying to figure out how we're creating new resource pipelines or expanding existing ones, and we're already having some successes. And so I think, again, being fortunate to live in a blue state, I love reading about all of the sorts of resistance measures that blue states are putting in place to protect us through the next 4 years, and it's angering President-elect Trump, and good, and we'll, like you keep saying, and I love it, we'll get through.
Hey, one of the things that I'd like you to help us clarify is our Attorney General. Now, this is his second rodeo with these guys, and I know he made a statement about being ready to go. Is that kind of what you were alluding to too?
Yeah, I am, and I'm trying to learn more. I mean, the different blue states are doing kind of different things, but they are working in collaboration as well. But it's exactly that, and I think it's tremendously sad that as a state we have to figure out how to resist our federal government and the president's administration, but we do. And I think our Attorney General Keith Ellison is expert at this. He was a congressman for a while, and so I think he gets the federal landscape here, and we're, in some ways, I feel like we're kind of on our own, right? We're going to need to figure out how to go forward. As I'll say, it
was kind of put to me, or I read somewhere that the first Trump presidency, that a lot of the attorney generals in the blue states really got together and brainstormed and protect a lot of things in the blue states that were happening, and that really kind of perked me up, excited me, and then I said, "Wow, one more day, and then we'll go on the radio."
Right? No, I agree, and we have elections in 2 years, right? And so things could happen at the congressional level, but especially at the Senate, and a lot of the data coming out of the presidential race shows that there was a top of the ticket impact, right? People kind of fell off voting because of the top of the ticket, and there's analysis that shows in 2 years, it's very likely that the Senate will flip, and that'll be a good thing. And who knows what with the House? These majorities are so razor thin, and so people are talking about Trump's big mandate, but really it came down to fewer than 300,000 votes in a couple of states that gave him the presidency. So there really isn't a popular mandate for this president, and that makes it difficult to govern.
Well, and I agree, and I don't know, help me with the math here. If only 50% of the country votes, And he got, so really it's a quarter of the country that's mandating this.
You're exactly right. I wouldn't even use the word mandate. It's a quarter of the country that elected him.
Right.
And so that's not an overwhelming majority.
No, not at all. Well, I'd like to talk next segment too, a little bit, and get a little deeper in what we can do as citizens. And I know you're talking to your people at Native American Community Development Institute, but also, all the other groups you're in. What can we do as citizens out there to really protect and be awake and also resist? So I'd love to talk about that next segment, Robert.
I look forward to it, and maybe even touch on some of the good news, right? There was a lot of good news that came out of these elections. A whole cadre of elected Native people to office, the first trans member of Congress, and there's some good things there.
Well, let's do that, and then if we run out of time, we run out of time. Let's start with that. All right on. Hey, this is Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm here with Haley and Robert Lilligren. We'll be right back.
Stay with us.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States.
And 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected.
Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf.
Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy.
As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired.
Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl. J&S Bean Factory is a Native-owned, community-supported, cozy, artsy coffee shop which offers roasted on-site beans, live music, and baked goods. Relax in the beautiful outside patio. City Pages writes, voted top 10 coffee shops. Tucked into a quiet corner of St. Paul's Highland Park neighborhood, this coffee shop roasts beans on-site from the best coffee-growing countries in the world. Located at 1518 Randolph Avenue, St. Paul. The good stuff.
Step into the world of movement and Native culture at Nimiwin, now showing at All My Relations Arts. Nimiwin is translated as Everyone Dance. This moving multimedia exhibition, curated by Josie Hoffman, delves into the connection between movement and identity, drawing inspiration from dance and powwow traditions. It showcases the work of Indigenous artists from Minnesota, emphasizing the fluidity of movement in our bodies, land, and community. Witness Nimiwin and its powerful expression on Indigenous art. On display now through January 18th at All My Relations Arts in Minneapolis.
Signing up for $1 bus and train rides with the Transit Assistance Program, or TAP, is quick and easy. Do it straight from your computer or phone by uploading one of the pre-approved documents listed at metrotransit.org/TAP, along with a copy of your ID. They'll mail you a go-to card with a full year of discounted rides. For questions or translation help, call 612-373-3333. That's 612-373-3333.
A home that needs new everything. Plus the kitchen sink. Life math is complicated. Affinity Plus makes it easier. With great rates on a home equity line of credit, we make tackling home projects less stressful. Visit affinityplus.org/rates to learn more today. Affinity Plus Federal Credit Union. Insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Lender.
Think your company's safe? Your staff is working from home, right? As I speak, cyber criminals are mounting attacks across the country. Remember, when we're weakest, cyber criminals attack. Hi, Mark Sommerfeld from Rymark. The Rymark team is guiding our clients through these difficult times. In fact, demand has been so high, we created an easy-to-follow guide. It's yours free. Download our 5 steps to securely work from home now at rymarkit.com or call 651-328-8900 for a no-cost how-to discussion.
Hi, everyone. Recently, I tried to figure out how much money I've saved on gas with my Toyota Sienna Hybrid from Rudy Luther Toyota. Toyota Hybrids are fantastic vehicles, roomy, safe, stylish, and incredibly fuel efficient. I got my latest Toyota Sienna a little over a year ago, so I did the math. So far, I've saved over $1,500 on gas since I got my Sienna. You heard that correctly, over $1,500 in fuel in little over a year. And they're a fun vehicle. You can drive all day on 1 tank of gas, so it's perfect for winter travel. Get yourself a Toyota Hybrid today and start saving money on fuel. Rudy Luther Toyota, 5 miles west of Minneapolis on 394.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Tonight, clear with a low of 3 below. Then Friday, sunshine with a high of 17, but wind chills could get as low as 12 below. The AM 950 calendar is back for 2025 as a thank you to all of those who have become members of AM 950. The calendars feature important progressive dates and the photography of Matt McNeil. Head over to am950radio.com for more information. You're listening to AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
You're listening to Native Roots Radio. This is Spirit from Reservation Dogs. Get up and listen.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by Native American Community Clinic on Franklin Avenue in Minneapolis, honoring health and tradition.
Yes, they do. Hey, we are here with Robert Lilligren, President and CEO of Native American Community Development Institute here in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis. And I'm glad you brought that up in the end of the last segment, because there are things to be really thankful for, Robert. And I'm sorry that I was a Debbie Downer there, but
it's hard not to be. It's hard not to be.
Let's talk about a few of those that you rattled off for sure.
Cool. Well, I mean, one thing is, and I don't have the number of how many succeeded, but there were, I'm sure, a record number of Native people on the ballot, something like 178 across the country.
Wow.
And yeah, and that's just huge, right? And a number of them were elected, of course, and you know, here in our local community and local state, we know a lot of those people, right? Native County Commissioner in Ramsey County, which is the county that St. Paul's in. That's huge. Kelly Miller, she's the first, right? She's a door opener, a glass ceiling crasher. And across our state, as we know, many Native candidates were elected. And so Canada embraced that and lift that up. And, you know, this experiment in self-governance, this democracy, American democracy, is, you know, 200 and whatever, 50 years old, and 4 years is a fairly small percentage of that time. And so we'll see, you know, what's coming out of this. And I suspect that in the midterm elections, in the Senate elections in 2026, I suspect we're going to see quite a shift.
Yeah. Yeah, well, again, wow, that's great, Kelly. That's something that was kind of on our radar, and I'm glad she won, because it was really close.
It was
there.
close,
Yeah.
right, and
that's excellent.
Yeah, it's very good, and then mostly, you know, I brought up Sarah McBride as her name, the first transgender member of Congress, which I think is huge, and then of course the Republicans in Congress suddenly are all about bathrooms, right? But bathroom is she going to use in Congress? And it's like, really? You really think this is the most important thing facing U.S. Congress? And so that, you know, it's going to be icky. I give her a lot of credit for being willing to do that. She's been very clear, Congressperson-elect McBride, in that's what she doesn't want to talk about. She doesn't want to talk about bathrooms. She wants to get to resolving issues that impact her constituents. And I give her a ton of credit, and you got to face it. It's going to be tough. And I remember back in my Minneapolis City Council days, you know, my first hire of my staff in my office was a transgender woman who has been president of the Minneapolis City Council. She's a Minneapolis City Council member, Andrea Jenkins. And one of her big concerns was about what bathrooms she was going to be able to use. And I said, Andrea, that's not my, you know, you'll use the bathrooms you want while you're in City Hall. But for me, a cisgender man, it's not something that I have to think about. Right. And so I really embrace, lift up, and respect our transgender brothers and sisters, transgender relatives, especially now. Today's the day after Transgender Day of Remembrance, right?
Right.
Tiny fraction of the country that's much more likely to experience violence, to be murdered. You know, so how do we embrace and lift up and support our trans relatives?
Absolutely. Wow. Well said. And thanks for that reminder too. And, you know, also the reminder that we had Heather Keeler and also up in Duluth, Trish or
Leash Kozlowski.
Yeah, thank you, Haley. Leash Kozlowski, she won too, and so we're keeping our natives here in Minnesota rocking and rolling.
Yeah. It would have been great to see Governor Peggy Flanagan, our whiter sister. Not yet. Right. Well, we'll have to wait a little longer for that. But I think she just positioned herself beautifully while our Governor Tim Walz was out on the national campaign trail. I was so impressed. She was like everywhere, right?
Yeah.
And really building those relationships that she'll need if and when she runs for governor here in Minnesota.
Yeah, I'd like to see, well, and I don't have a say in it, but I'd like to see her as a senator,
Agreed. She'd be a great senator.
Yeah. Well, whatever she chooses, she's dynamic and she's ours, and we really appreciate her. And like you said, she was everywhere, and she's everywhere anyways, but it was really noticeable because she took over a lot of the governor's responsibilities.
Right. I remember working on her first campaign back in 2004 for the Minneapolis City Council, and that's when I got to know her. And then she had reached out to me, and I was serving on the city council then, and she I remember thinking when I met her, I'm like, wow, she is so impressive. I thought, dang, she could be governor someday, and then I thought, well, hell, she could be president someday. Right. So maybe we'll see a president, Peggy Flanagan, in our lifetimes. And I think she would just be great. She's so authentic and so community focused, right?
Well, you never know because things have really moved quickly. We always joke when we were in high school and we were able to practice our own religion.
Right. Yep.
And things have sped up, and I really believe too a lot of it had to do with Standing Rock and people really getting engaged with resisting.
I agree, and I think I've shared this with you before. Where there are these systems change strategies that are based on an effort called Reclaiming Native Truth. And it was several years of research and then development of strategies in certain areas, like politics and policy, arts and culture, TV or media and art. And it's been very deliberate, right, to embrace these strategies. But one of the things the early research showed us was that about half of people in America didn't know that Native American people still existed today. They were relegated to history. And at the time, if you Googled, American Indian or Native American images, something like the first 100 images that came up were pre-1920, 1915. And that just reinforced this idea that we were from the past, we were contemporary, we weren't relevant in contemporary America. And so we've been able to dispel that, right? We're a growing segment of the population. We're obviously contemporary and very relevant. And it's people like Peggy Flanagan, like Deb Howland, like Sharice Davids that really flipped that. And so now when you Google American Indian images, that's who you see. Secretary Deb Howland, Congresswoman Sharice Davids, Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan. They have really flipped the narrative, and I, for one, am grateful.
Right, and what I was getting at too is that we're really lucky at our age to see this, and there's more coming.
Yep, I think we've made more progress more quickly than I ever thought we would, and being in the policy-making realm still. Today, I have really had to be deliberate about recalibrating my perspective and my expectations. And for years, it's been banging my head against this wall, hoping for movement. And all of a sudden, the wall has moved a little. Right. And so I need to make sure that I'm embracing that movement and change. So I'm not always living in the same old fight, right? We'll have plenty of fights, but okay, what's the next fight? We've done this, and I especially see young people. We've talked about this before. Young cultural carriers and leadership emerging that are so solid in their identities and things. And so how do we support them? But to embrace, like you just said, embrace success, embrace the change. There is good change happening and on the horizon for Native people. And so let's not always live in the past, but let's step into the future, the current, what's happening now and the future.
I really like what you said a few weeks ago, and it kind of goes in line what you're saying here, is that there's been a switch with a lot of work on our Native community about not only getting involved, but getting involved in the process, which, wasn't the case maybe, 12 years ago or 10 years ago.
No, you're exactly right. I just met this morning at the Minneapolis American Indian Center Gatherings Cafe, wonderful place, with a high-level Minneapolis city official working to encourage community development, economic development in BIPOC communities, and I lifted this up for this kind of this change. We're in a different day, and you mentioned Standing Rock. I think that was pivotal in a number of other current kind of developments, and really trying to encourage her to understand that we're a complicated community, but we are unified in a lot of our approaches, and especially here we are unified. We have this incredible asset of unified collaborative Native leadership in the urban community here, and that has been hard fought, right, and hard won. It didn't just happen. I mean, a bunch of people sitting around tables being willing to give up some of their power or their authority for the good of the whole, right, and the good of the community. And I just love being able to be part of that whole evolution. I mean, this has been 20 years of work about how to be collaborative and maybe give up some of our power to benefit the community. And I feel like we do that really well here.
Yeah, we do. And from being kind of looking at it from the other perspective of tribal government, I think people like yourself and Dr. Stately and now Ruth Buffalo and all the leaders aren't attached to tribes, but they're more into the people and the community, and it really shows.
Well, we have our tribes, right? I mean, I have my nation, my home nation, and I'm a third generation Minneapolis urban Indian. So trying to figure out how to balance those identities and leverage them. And then today I was at the Minneapolis American Indian Center for quite a while for a number of meetings, and at the Indian Center, our Minneapolis American Indian, the state council was meeting, MIAC, at the Indian Center. And I just loved it. So I stopped in a while, so shook some hands, went talked to some people. My tribal chair was there, which was lovely to connect with them. And to me, that was so important that MIAC, Minneapolis Indian Affairs Council, or Minnesota Indian Affairs Council, was here in Minneapolis, engaging with and acknowledging the urban community. And that just felt really good.
Wow. I wish I would have known that. I would have stopped by and rattled some cages. No, said hi to some people. That's cool. Hey, Robert, it's been really great. Haven't talked to you in a while, and this has been really great catching up. And I appreciate you and all you do for the community. So thanks for stopping by.
Thank you. Miigwech.
Right on. Robert Lilligren, Native American Community Development Institute. We'll be right back with Wendy Pilot. This is Native Roots Radio.
It's okay to talk about mental health. It's okay to struggle. And it's okay to ask for help. It's important that we support one another and work together to end the stigma so that we can start to tell a different story about mental health and well-being in our community. If you're looking for support for yourself or want to find resources for a loved one, visit makeitokay.org to get started. That's makeitokay.org.
As we age, it's important to invest in our health and to help protect it. Like the flu, COVID-19 is always changing. That's why it's important to stay up to date on your vaccines. By getting the flu and COVID-19 vaccines, you can renew your body's defenses and lower the risk of getting sick. Get your health boost and protect yourself against the flu and COVID. Find vaccines near you at vaccines.gov. Again, that's vaccines.gov. Vaccines.gov.
Getting bus and train information in your language just got easier. Customers who call Metro Transit at 612-373-3333, again 612-373-3333, are able to select language options at the start of the call. To access information in Spanish, select option 2. For more information about other transit information tools, visit metrotransit.org/Spanish. That's metrotransit.org/Spanish.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
This is Leonard Peltier. I am in Coleman 1, U.S. Penitentiary, and I'm listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations.
Hey, it's Wendy. I want to, Wendy, the baby whisperer here. Welcome to Native Roots Radio, and great to see you, and thanks for coming on. I just want to introduce you as my awesome, beautiful wife, and you've been an animal advocate for many, many years, and I've learned so much from all your segments, and you're a founder of Native Roots Radio.
Yeah, thanks. Hey, everybody. My name is Hanajihi. That means cares for them. I was given that name by my Dega Curtis. Curtis goes by Mashke Hanajinga, which means walks on white clouds. I'm a humane policy volunteer leader for the Humane Society of the United States. I work on animal issues at the local and state level, and it's always my pleasure to do that. I feel like I'm a little rusty. I haven't been on the air in quite some time. And I'm trying to remember when the last time was, but I did pop on because I wanted to hear. I like hearing what Robert Lilligren has to say, and I heard you saying, I was in the other room and I heard Robert saying, Robert, remind us of what we could look forward to for the next 4 years, right?
Yeah.
We have like this next 4 years to get through. So I popped my headphones on and I do feel a little bit better now.
Yeah.
Thinking about what Robert had to say. So, because it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to have a lot of stuff that we're going to need to work on. And also, as a humane policy volunteer leader, I spend a lot of time at the Capitol, and I try to educate and try to help people who are representing us understand what ordinances we could use in the area in St. Paul and in the state of Minnesota to help animals. So I'm glad that we still have most of everybody we have is still, like our city council member. We have Sarah Jost, who's awesome. Shout out to Sarah. She's great. We still have Dave Pinto, who's our House representative.
Mm-hmm.
He's awesome. We have Erin Murphy, who is our senator.
Right. State
senator. And who am I forgetting? Who am I forgetting? I can't remember. Who else do we have? We have like Betty McCollum.
Right.
She's still our senator.
Mm-hmm.
Amy Klobuchar, although sometimes she doesn't help us with some of our animal needs. But, it's important to keep our local people who will help animals.
Definitely.
Vote for humane ordinances and laws for our animals. But So at the Pilot House here, In St. Paul, we are gearing up for the winter, and we have water bowls out in the backyard that plug in so that we can keep the water unfrozen.
That's in case I get kicked out of the house too. I can drink some water in the backyard.
It's funny though, I haven't plugged them in yet because it's been, in the 40s during the day. So,
Right.
whatever. But I did see a crow out there lifting off the top layer of ice on one of the in the bird bath so
They're
he
so
could get
smart.
the water in there. Yeah. And I was like, wow, but I go out there every day and I just put fresh water in for them. And I just think it's important if people, especially when it's going to be getting really, really cold, to just help our wildlife. We live really close to St. Kate's. Is it a college or a university? I can't remember. University. Thank you, Haley. St. Kate's University. They have a beautiful campus, and they have a big pond there where ducks live. And the ducks.
It's a natural spring too.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, at like 4:30, almost like clockwork, we could say, the ducks come from St. Kate's, which is, I don't know, how far is it? St. Kate's?
3 blocks.
3 blocks.
4
from us?
blocks,
Yeah.
maybe.
So they fly overhead and then they land in our backyard because I always have goodies for them. So, and just feeding, putting the seeds in the bird feeder. I just think it's important that, the winter months are hard and we should just be able to help our wildlife. So
Yeah,
if you're
definitely.
in tune to doing that. But somebody was asking me, I can't remember who it was. It was just recently. How do you know it's a crow and not a raven?
I don't think ravens live in the state. I don't know.
Well, ravens look a lot different.
Yeah.
So ravens really have a very broad kind of hooked beak. And a crow is kind of a little bit straighter. But a crow, they travel in groups.
Yeah.
Their habitat is usually urban, right? Their lifespan is 8 years.
Oh.
I know. I thought they lived longer. The sound that they make is caw, caw.
Crow, crow.
C-A-W, C-A-W. They have this is one of the differences. They have a fan-shaped tail.
Oh.
Yes, and a smaller, flatter bill, and they're extremely intelligent. We know that.
Well, you had talked years ago about the McDonald's bag.
Yeah, they did a study on, I don't remember if it was crows or ravens, but they had a brown paper bag, and the birds would know to go to the bag that had the golden arches on them because the birds would most likely find a little treat in there.
A little French fry.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they would leave the regular brown paper bag with no markings on it alone, and they would always go to pick up the golden arches bag. Isn't that funny?
It's also interesting when we look at our crows that they are picky on which peanuts to take. They go through them like this one's bigger. They shake it, and then all of a sudden, then they leave with 3 in their mouth. And I go, where are they going? To the neighbors to drop off some peanut shells?
So, yeah, I think that they're looking for the easiest one that they could crack open.
Oh.
But that's a funny story, Robert. So we were at our neighbor's house, 2 houses down, and he said, who the heck is feeding these squirrels? I have peanut shells all over my yard. So we blamed it on another neighbor.
Yeah.
It was just kind of a funny thing.
Oh, Tom.
We were like,
Tom's feeding them again.
Oops. Yeah, Tom. He must be feeding them.
We go, we got to get going.
We got to go. Okay. But here's a raven. So here's the difference. So a raven travels in pairs instead of a group. So a crow will go in a group. A raven only goes in pairs. And a raven, their habitat is the wild, where a crow is an urban bird.
Okay.
And hear this, the raven has a 30-year lifespan.
Wow.
They make a different
triple.
sound too. Should I embarrass myself?
Yeah, we should do a poem about a raven too.
It's gronk, gronk. G-R-O-N-K. Gronk,
Say it
gronk.
with a little more feeling.
Gronk, gronk. Instead of caw, caw. See, now you know the difference.
Maybe we can open up with one of the segments with that too.
They have a wedged
in Howling for Wolves.
Exactly, we should do that. We have a wedged shaped tail instead of a fan shaped tail. Their bill is bigger and curved, and they're also extremely intelligent. So yeah, I love them. They're really smart. There's a little story about the crows bringing little trinkets to a girl who fed them peanuts. They would find little shiny objects and they would leave them for her because they appreciated her giving her peanuts.
Yeah, and she
you could look
collected
it up
them
too.
Yeah, she collected them.
Yeah.
I just get ducks pooping on my car, but that's the presents I get
we
from
get
the
duck
ducks.
poop because they come every day. But anyway, let's help our wildlife this winter.
Good segment. Great to have you on again, Wendy. Hey, if you're listening to the show, you're part of the resistance. We're getting the Resist t-shirts out again. We're still here. We are the 7th generation.
Free Leonard Peltier.
Now.